If you've been told that earning average returns will keep you safe in retirement, let me stop you right there. Most people retire thinking they're fine, and years later their savings are gone. I've seen it happen countless times, not because the market betrayed them, not because they were reckless. They followed the rules, they did what they were supposed to do. And yet, somehow, it wasn't enough. I want you to understand something uncomfortable. Average returns are a seductive lie. They make you feel comfortable. They make you think, I'm on track, I'll be fine. But comfort is exactly what hides the danger. The truth is, the timing of returns matters far more than the average. You can have a lifetime of solid, respectable returns, and if you hit the wrong market sequence at the wrong time, it can wreck your retirement. I've seen it destroy perfectly reasonable plans. And the worst part, most people never see it coming until it's too late. Think about it. You've spent decades building a portfolio, diligently adding to it, choosing solid investments. You've read the books, you've followed the advice, you believe in long-term averages. That's all very rational. Until you retire, then the math changes. Then your withdrawals matter. Then volatility becomes personal. And suddenly, those average returns you relied on don't feel so average anymore. Here's the thing I've learned over decades of investing and watching people plan for retirement. Markets don't care about your timeline. They don't care when you need the money. They don't care if you've been careful or disciplined. They simply behave according to their own rhythms, sometimes kind, sometimes cruel. The harsh reality is that a period of negative returns, right, when you're taking money out of your portfolio, is devastating. It doesn't matter that your 30-year average looks good. It doesn't matter that historically markets recover. Those recoveries happen on the timeline of the market, not yours. And that mismatch, the one most retirees overlook, is what destroys wealth quietly, invisibly, and permanently. I remember one client, let's call him Robert. Smart guy, followed every rule. He retired with a comfortable nest egg, fully diversified, everything in place. Then came a market downturn in his first 3 years of retirement. He panicked. He sold some positions at a loss to cover expenses. By the time the market recovered, his nest egg was far smaller than he expected. Average returns didn't save him. Sequence risk did. He had no margin for error. And that's the lesson most people never get. When you start withdrawing, timing is everything, and average returns are meaningless if your sequence is wrong. So, if you're watching this and nodding along, feeling a little uneasy, good. That's exactly what I want. Unease is useful. Complacency kills. Because this isn't about being aggressive or speculative. It's about surviving. It's about understanding that the numbers on paper aren't the ones that hit your bank account when you need them most. And most importantly, it's about preparing for the ugly truth before it's staring you in the face. I've learned to stop focusing on averages and start thinking about timing and behavior. That's the first lesson I want to share. Numbers on a spreadsheet can lie. They tell you what could happen, not what will happen to your savings when you actually need the money. I remember my early years watching the market in panic cycles. One of the first clients I advised came to me confident, almost smug. He had average returns that looked perfectly fine, but in his first retirement year, the market dropped 20%. Most people would have shrugged it off when they were 40, 50, or even 60. Not him. He was drawing down. And every withdrawal during that downturn made the problem worse. By the end of that year, his so-called safe portfolio had shrunk enough to throw off his entire retirement plan. That's what sequence of returns risk really does. It punishes you when you're forced to withdraw during a downturn. Here's the takeaway. When planning withdrawals, assume bad things will happen early. Don't rely on averages. If you build your plan assuming smooth sailing, you'll be blindsided. The practical step here is to stress test your portfolio. Ask yourself, what happens if the first 5 years of retirement are brutal? If you don't like the answer, it's time to adjust. Reduce withdrawals, hold more cash, or restructure your assets so you don't have to sell at a loss. The second lesson is about volatility and emotion. Volatility isn't inherently dangerous, it's what it makes you do that's dangerous. I've seen people survive decades of market swings only to panic when it finally matters. I stopped doing stupid things like reacting to every headline. Instead, I built portfolios I could sleep with. You have to prepare emotionally, not just mathematically. If a market drop will force you to sell at the wrong time, your portfolio isn't resilient, it's fragile. Let me tell you a story. I knew an investor in his mid-60 seconds who believed he had average returns covered. Then the market fell 25% in a single year. He started fretting, recalculating, second-guessing every move. The fear drove him to make rash withdrawals. His portfolio, which could have recovered over time, was permanently damaged by his own panic. That's the difference between surviving and thriving. Average returns didn't fail him, his behavior did. The practical takeaway? Build a portfolio you can live with, not just one that looks good on paper. Think in terms of survival. Think in terms of buffers. Liquidity isn't boring, it's insurance. It's the difference between keeping your lifestyle and losing confidence in your plan. Finally, the third lesson I want to drill home is preparing for the worst without being paralyzed by it. I've been in boardrooms and client meetings where people would freak out over the idea of negative returns, treating them like a personal attack. You can't avoid bad periods, but you can control your response. That's why I emphasize contingency planning, build reserves, diversify thoughtfully, and make sure your withdrawals won't force you into losses. Here's what I want you to do today. Map out the worst case scenario, see how long your money lasts under stress, and decide what adjustments you can make before it happens. That simple exercise separates the people who survive from the ones who lose confidence and wealth. Now, let's tackle some myths that people cling to, because myths are what get them into trouble. You've been told certain things about retirement investing that sound logical, but I can tell you they're dead wrong, and believing them quietly destroys portfolios. Myth number one, if I just earn the market average, I'll be fine. That's the lie I started with. Average returns are meaningless if the timing is wrong. Two investors can have identical averages, yet one ends up comfortably retired and the other scrambles for cash. The math is simple. Losses early in retirement are far more damaging than gains. So stop worshiping averages. They're a comfort blanket, not a safety net. Myth number two, volatility is the enemy. Wrong again. Volatility only matters if it forces you to do something stupid. I've seen people survive decades of swings, then panic at the wrong time and create permanent losses. The real enemy isn't volatility, it's human behavior under pressure. That's why your portfolio must be emotionally survivable, not just mathematically sound. Myth number three, I'll get back what I lost later. Many retirees believe markets always recover in time for them to recover their withdrawals. That's a dangerous assumption. Recoveries follow market timelines, not your retirement timeline. If you withdraw during a downturn, recovery doesn't matter. You've permanently reduced your base. Here's the practical lesson. Stop chasing comfort and start planning for stress. Think in terms of what could go wrong, not just what usually goes right. That mindset keeps you alive when others are panicking. Now let's turn those lessons into a simple framework, something you can remember and actually apply. I call it protect, plan, and proceed. Protect. Build a portfolio that can survive the worst case scenario. That means reserves, liquidity, and conservative positioning in critical years. Protecting your money isn't boring, it's life insurance for your lifestyle. Plan. Map out withdrawals under adverse conditions. Stress test your assumptions. Ask, what happens if the first 5 years of retirement are brutal? If you can't live with the results, make changes now. Proceed. Once your protection is in place and your plan tested, move forward with confidence. Don't obsess over short-term fluctuations. You've built a system that can survive, so now it can thrive. Optional extra. Monitor. Keep an eye on your progress, but don't react to every market headline. Discipline is more important than chasing returns. Optional extra. Adjust. Life changes, health changes, markets change. Your plan isn't static. Adapt, but only strategically. Panic is not a strategy. I've seen investors fail because they believed myths. I've seen others succeed because they embraced reality. One of my earliest mentors drilled this into me. It's not about being right, it's about staying in the game. That advice still guides me today, and it will guide anyone serious about securing a retirement that lasts. Now let's finish with the lessons that tie everything together, lessons that can actually save your retirement if you apply them. Lesson 4. Don't underestimate the power of small mistakes. Most retirees think their plan is bulletproof. Then they make tiny missteps, over-withdrawing, reacting to a headline, chasing a hot asset, and suddenly the math works against them. I've seen it happen over and over. The difference between success and struggle isn't always huge losses. It's the accumulation of small, avoidable errors. My practical advice: review every decision, ask if it's necessary, and don't let emotion dictate action. Lesson 5. Survival is more important than brilliance. I've met people obsessed with beating the market, picking winners, timing every move. Some get lucky, most don't. But I've never seen a careful investor who goes broke. Carefulness, patience, and humility are your best allies. Protect what you have first. Everything else comes second. Lesson 6. Prepare for reality, not theory. Retirement planning books will give you beautiful projections, charts, and models. I'm here to tell you, life doesn't follow the charts. Markets don't care about your schedule. Expenses fluctuate. Health changes. Death, illness, emergencies happen. The investors who thrive are the ones who factor reality into their planning, not wishful averages. Here's the summary in practical form. Protecting your principal liquidity and safe positioning matter more than chasing returns. Plan for the worst-case early years of retirement, not just the long-term average. Proceed with confidence once your plan can survive stress. And don't react to every market swing. Avoid small, unnecessary mistakes. They compound just like gains. Prioritize survival over brilliance. Your goal is to stay in the game, not to be the hero. If you can internalize this, you'll have a fighting chance to retire with dignity and security. Most people don't, because they trust averages, ignore risk, and assume recovery will always be on their timeline. Don't be like most people. Let me leave you with one final blunt thought. Retirement is a marathon, not a sprint. Your portfolio isn't a scoreboard to impress anyone, it's a lifeline. Treat it that way. Respect risk. Respect timing. Respect yourself. That's what keeps you from becoming another cautionary story. If you take nothing else from this, remember, average returns don't save you. Survival saves you, discipline saves you, preparation saves you. And here's what I want you to do right now. Review your plan with brutal honesty. Stress test your assumptions. Adjust what's necessary. If you don't, you'll look back and realize that comfortable on paper never meant comfortable in reality. If you want more of my hard lessons without the sugarcoating, subscribe and don't miss the next one. I'll keep giving you the truths most advisors won't admit, because surviving and thriving requires knowledge that isn't always comfortable.